Welcome to the Build Business Acumen podcast, where we deliver practical knowledge and powerful guidance. Here is your futuristic host, Nathaniel.
Well, I am privileged today to be joined by Nelly Shein, and we're going to be talking about resilience. Excuse me, making some noise with my glasses there. But we've been writing a book on resilience for our publisher, and it's been a really interesting journey. We've been learning so many things about resilience, about why people are resilient, why you need to be resilient. It's just such a big subject. I didn't even dream that it was actually such a big subject, because you have business resilience and you also have people which need to be resilient, right, Nelly? So this is just, we unpacked so much stuff in so few words, really, to be honest. And it was emotional, yeah, really. Reading about Viktor Frankl, about man's search for meaning, how he managed to move beyond his current state of reality to maintain a level of happiness that, enabled him to live, is probably how I would describe it. If you haven't read the book, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, it's, he was in Auschwitz, and it was emotional, really, to be honest. And I know you studied some other people as well in this journey that we went on together.
Yes, thank you for that, Nathaniel. I did. Often you think that you know everything about a person because you have seen the headlines in media, but then you sit down and actually study their lives and you realize that so much they have endured and survived. And now I am first and foremost actually thinking of Nelson Mandela, and being in prison for 27 years and then coming out and forgiving everyone who put him there in the first place and giving out love and care. And you cannot see a strike of anger or irritation or hate or anything. So I think he is also one of the role models I have for resilience, people who really have come out of their misery, their sadness, their tragedy, or whatever. So he is one of them, definitely.
Yeah, I know he's an inspiration. He was an inspirational man, and what he must have endured in those 27 years. It's a bit like Terry Waite as well. Like Terry Waite was arrested, and he was locked up for a long time as well. And these people, that they sort of learn how to really control their mind. That's the thing that I took from Viktor Frankl. And we're going to delve a little bit further into that in future conversations in this series, right? But taking the time to really delve into Viktor Frankl and these kind of people and how they manage to control their minds, it's fascinating, really.
It is. And when you are studying them, you also realize that there is a method, there is a structure, and it needs to be followed every day. It's not anything you can jump on the wagon for a couple of days and then leave it. You actually need to be so dedicated. If you haven't been dedicated in your life before, this is really a good chance, a good opportunity, a good reason to be it, because I can promise you, whoever you are listening out there, that you will change your life with these practices when it comes to resilience, definitely. But you need to hang in there. And I didn't say that it was easy, and I didn't even say that it goes fast. On the contrary, it takes time, but you have time. You absolutely have time, because you're going to improve your life. So of course you have time.
Yeah. I mean, I think what I took away from it is that the more you are able, because it's so connected with your emotions, right? And the more you're able to control your emotions in life, really the better decisions that you make generally in that's my opinion. Yeah. Some people may disagree with that, but I personally think that if if I could have controlled my emotions, like perhaps when I was buying something I couldn't afford, yeah, as an example, or I was, maybe having that one last beer, right? Or, there are many instances whereby we allow other people's emotions and our situations and our environment to choose, almost force us into a position of unhappiness. And that's what I really got from this, a sort of an understanding of the Queen of England and her poise, the way that she, I mean, I wrote about her because obviously I'm British, and you're over there, Australia sometimes, and Sweden sometimes, and so I kind of thought, I'm going to study the Queen, and I thought, she showed up continually for decades and coached, people's prime ministers, never told anyone anything, and always maintained this level of what would you call it? Dignity?
Well, I would call it absolutely dignity, and also that no one approached her unless you were asked to do so. Integrity is another word coming to mind. And still, I mean, she is facing so many catastrophes in her life. They are lined on top of each other. And I'm not even going to go into the last one that is going on now.
Yeah.
But to have to deal with things like that at that age in life, that is admirable, really, really so. So she is also somebody that I hold really, really high. And another person that actually come to mind, even though I know that he was not the best and kindest person on earth, but he did a lot. That's why we are having the development we are having now, technically. And I am thinking of Steve Jobs, that after being kicked out from his own company, then to come back and still carry on fighting, and then come back in the old position that he had after 10 years. I think that also shows that you can reach the goal you want to reach if you persist. It is a lot about persistence. It's a lot about to stick to what you want to achieve and don't give up that road.
Absolutely. It's I watched the Steve Jobs movie because you were writing about Steve Jobs for the book, and I was watching the movie whilst you were writing, and so I found your kind of explanation about Steve Jobs very, very interesting. And we're going to delve into that in a little bit more detail in future recordings, right? But so about your neighbor, you talked about your neighbor. Can you?
Yeah, my neighbor. He doesn't live here anymore, so it's safe to talk about him. He often talked about how devastated he was over that his wife had left him, and if she would only be in his life, he would then have finished the house off. He would have extended it, painted it, and do all sort of things. But because she had left him, he didn't have any urge to basically do anything. So I heard the story over and over again, and I thought I must ask him, when did she leave? How long have you been here, living here? And he is then saying, "Oh, radio. I think it must be 37 years now."
So
So 37 years had kept him from fixing anything in the house and with himself and whatever. So I'm thinking that, we can also blame other people for ourselves not doing anything. And that is one of the reasons, that is one of the characteristics that the person who is actually working with resilience, they never blame anyone. They just put down their head and work. And I think that is a really good personality to have, to not blame anyone.
Absolutely, because then you're giving away responsibility, aren't you? You're almost saying, well, it wasn't my fault, and you're trying to pass the buck, aren't you? But actually, I mean, it's taken me, I'm 45 now, but it's taken me a long time to accept the fact that I'm in control of my life, right? And I'm in control of how I show up, if I show up, if I don't show up, and that's my responsibility to maintain a professional demeanor and a professional career move, and I think that it's hugely important. So how do you live every day to strengthen your resilience? That's a question that I'd like to ask you.
How many minutes did you say we have for this?
We've got about 3 or 4 minutes.
3 or 4 minutes. I will do it by being aware. That is number one, to think about it. I mean, that is the first thing I think about in the morning when I wake up, and I decide what this day is going to be about. And it's the last thing I go through before falling asleep. And in between there, I'm checking in with myself. Am I doing this right now? Is this really what I'm thinking? Is this what I want to do? Something that always helps me is 2 things or 3. One is books, to read books. The other one is to write them. The third one is to be out in the forest. And that is really, really helpful. Or when I'm in Australia, is the beach. So nature is really a good help when you want to stay on the path of resilience.
Right. So we're really talking about the connection between resilience and self-care, right? I mean, it's self-care, right? Like, and that's so important these days. So, and resilience, the way I understand it now from experiencing it, is resilience is built your own way, right? And so you get to choose the tools that you use, you get to choose the ways that you use them, and you get to choose, right? That's how I sort of understood it from all of these methods that you outlined in the book, from your experience. So I think it's just something that you've just got to do, like you say, every day, right? Every day you wake up in the morning and you choose your mindset and you say, you know what, yesterday was tough, but today it's better. And every day is a new day, right? It's a new chance to improve,
Absolutely. That is a really good summary of that. Thank you for summarizing it so well.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Well, I think this wraps up this conversation, and we will definitely be getting more into this topic throughout the next few audios. I think we're recording a series for the publisher of 10, so it should be very, very interesting. Fantastic. Thank you, Nelly.
Thank you so much, Nathaniel.
Thanks so much for listening. Please subscribe, and wherever you prefer, share with your friends. And if you enjoyed the show, drop us a review on iTunes or wherever you listen.